Alright, hey fans of Survivor UHC. This video is a cast assessment featuring Survivor UHC Season 1 winner SimplySam and Survivor UHC Season 2 winner Shoopter. And they are basically giving their assessment of this season's cast, Survivor UHC Season 4 Calm versus Crazy. We have 12 returning players and 12 newcomers. They have gotten a chance to play with these people and meet them before, so they generally know what their playstyle is, and even though the season was recorded a year ago, they can still kind of make assumptions based on what has happened since then. They do not know the results. There's no spoilers in this. So without further ado, we're starting with the Valia tribe with Chalk, and then the Lafo tribe will start with Bobby. And I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you.
Alright, so having played with Chalk before, I know that he's pretty tricky. He's a very good player, as we saw in Season 2. He pulled off some crazy stuff, like he managed to convince Meowsers to give him the idol that he had, and then subsequently voted Meowsers out that same round. So, you know, he's pretty wild. He's a big personality. And I feel like people trust him a lot, even though they shouldn't necessarily do that. But the negative thing for Chalk is that he definitely has like a big reputation within the UHC Survivor community. So he could be someone that gets targeted really quickly. So, you know, but like I feel like if he finds his footing, he could do really well.
Stone, I think, does have a tendency to maybe talk a little bit too much, and I'm not trying to be negative, but like for Survivor, I think you definitely need to definitely say a limited amount. I think that Stone does have potential to do well in the game. I think he just needs to definitely find an early alliance and people willing to work with him.
Dawson's a very interesting player. I'm gonna be honest, I don't see him winning. I'm just gonna put that out there. I feel like Dawson, I don't know he has much experience playing Survivors. I think, this is probably like his second or third maybe. And, I don't know if he really knows what's going on fully. He might not have a total grasp on like the whole strategy portion of the game, but if people can get past, you know, the screaming and everything, he could probably be a pretty loyal ally. You know, it's always good to have someone around who you can just kind of tell what to do. And I feel like Dawson could fit into that role pretty quick, but he might also annoy people, so it's like a 50-50.
X-Hockey is crazy. Probably the craziest new player on this tribe. I think that he probably has the most potential to do well. It's just whether he's too crazy for the other players or not, basically. He needs to not have a target on his back, and I'm not sure that he will be able to escape that.
Do You Minecraft is definitely someone who I could see slipping through the cracks very easily. That's pretty much what he did in Season 1. He made it down all the way to Final 4 or 5, I believe, and never really had his name come up. I imagine he'd be pretty good at forming social connections, and he might be a pretty strong strategic player behind the scenes. And if he can, you know, slip through the cracks again and not really have anybody target him this time, he could pretty easily make it to FTC, I think.
Okay, Garrett. Now, Garrett's very crazy. He's very appropriately put on this crazy new player tribe. I think that Garrett is probably going to try and take control, and if I had to guess, likely go in a clash with someone pretty early on. I'd compare him to Miles from my first season, where I think that Garrett could possibly be a very aggressive player, be too aggressive too early, and that immediately sort of put him on the bottom. I think that if he stands back a little bit, cools down, thinks before he acts, I think that he can get away with it, but I'm not so sure that that's going to be the way that things play out.
Glenn is the kind of player that I see as being so under the radar that they kind of flip back onto the radar, if that makes sense. That's pretty much what happened to him in Season 3. Nobody was worried about him, nobody was even thinking about him, and then someone realized, oh wait, Glenn is in the game. We should do something about that. So, you know, I feel like he could do very well, because people like him a lot. He actually came up with a split vote. He came up with the idea for the split vote without ever having seen Survivor before, which is very impressive. So he clearly knows what he's doing, even despite his limited knowledge of the game. Maybe this will be his season.
Merrick is a very good social player. I think that he develops social bonds and forms alliances very, very well. I think he did that. I mean, I think that's the main reason he got to where he did on his season. I think that he played the social game very well. He just needs to step up his strategic game. Kind of similar to Aaron. I think that he definitely just needs to be able to make a move, have something to really like increase the strategic portion of his game, because otherwise I think he has it in the bag with his social connections. Carry him to FTC. I think that got him to a point, but now he needs something else to boost his game so that he can win.
King is definitely a player you should be afraid of. I played with him in Season 2, and his tribe, his whole alliance basically ran the game. He didn't really even need to make any big moves because, you know, there was no reason for it. He had the game, like, in the palm of his hand. His motto in Season 2 was, like, account for the idiots, which I think is super hilarious. Unfortunately, he didn't really do that in Season 2 because his allies voted him out, and then they lost to me. So if he can do that properly in Season 4, I could see very good things for him. He's incredibly witty. He has this great, dry, sarcastic sense of humor. So I feel like he could definitely make some close allies really easily. I'd expect big things from King in Season 4.
I think Rocky is probably going to struggle. And I don't mean that in the bad way. I just think that Rocky is too crazy for this tribe. I think the returnees are... I think the returnees are likely going to be... let me rephrase that. I think that Rocky definitely has the connections in the game to do well. It's just whether he can make it to a point where he needs to reconnect with some other people as well as establish an alliance on his original tribe. I think that he definitely has potential, but I think that he does lack in challenge ability, and I think that he will definitely be a target off the get-go just because of who he is, unfortunately.
Alright, Peppet's a very wild personality. He's pretty crazy, but, you know, he's smarter than he seems on the surface, in my opinion. I remember seeing in Season 1, he was posting, like, analysis on, you know, every post for each episode. So, you know, he's watched Survivor. He might not have played it before, but he's got a grasp on the game. So, you know, if he can keep his, you know, his craziness in check, he could probably do pretty well.
So, Sugar probably is the most deserving person to win the game that has not yet won. I do think that Sugar is a very, very good player, probably the best player on this entire cast. I would like to say that Sugar can win this particular game, but honestly, I think that he's coming in with way too big of a target. I think that people know what he's capable of, and I think that that's going to be his downfall. I don't know if Sugar's going to be able to find a footing in this game, but I hope he does. He is a very powerful player, Bobby. I think if people let him get too far, then he can definitely win this game. It's whether the people are going to let him get that far. Bobby, I think, can't afford to play an under-the-radar game. He definitely does need to push himself out there. but it's just whether he can be stopped before it's too late.
Grant, I know, is someone who's not super experienced with Survivor, but he's very intelligent outside of that. I feel like he could definitely do well, even if he doesn't have his finger on the pulse of the game completely. I definitely feel like he can come up with some good strategies, and he's got a really good sense of humor. He's very likable, so I could see him doing okay.
Brent, I'm not really sure what to expect from, honestly. I think that he's gonna be another player that's sort of in his own head doing what he wants to do. I don't know how well he's gonna do at establishing a solid alliance to move forward with. I think that he's gonna have his set idea and he's gonna try and get that done.
Greeples is another very under-the-radar player. I know for a fact that Greeples is good at this game. You might not think so just from looking at him, but he knows what he's doing. He's incredibly strong socially. He's got a pretty good strategic mind too. In my personal opinion, I think he's one of the best players on this cast. He knows how to manage his threat level for sure. The last Survivor I played with him, he was never even like a thought on anybody's mind. So I'd watch out for Greeples for sure.
Character in her season. I think that Katie is definitely someone to look out for, because I feel like if she makes the end, I feel like she's just a shoo-in to win. I think she's very entertaining, and I think that people like being around her, so definitely a big threat to watch out for on the social side of the game. I think Spongy is going to be a huge threat straight off the get-go in this game. I think that he's a very loud player. He's a very good player, but I think that he kind of needs to take things back a step. Maybe try and play a little more UTI. I think if he goes too big too soon, he's just going to go home.
I feel like Lego is pretty good at Survivor, honestly. The main issue I feel like for him is that he's very aggressive. He has ideas that he wants to put out there, and if you disagree with them, he's not going to be happy with you. But, besides all that, he's a strong strategist. He's played this game many times before. He definitely has a good understanding of it. If people don't vote him out for being really, a strong personality, I think he could make it pretty far.
Kegel, well, let's just say I hope that he doesn't take anyone into a forest and yell at them. As long as he doesn't do that, I'm sure he'll be fine.
Alright, I have nothing but good things to say about Maximum 50. He is a delightful human being, super, super likable, funny guy, love to be around him, and I think most of his tribe mates will probably feel the same way as I do. He is a super good strategist behind the scenes too. I feel like he's really good at making his points, very eloquent, very good in terms of being argumentative. I don't see why he couldn't straight up win this game.
Miles. Now, in our initial season, Miles and I clashed quite significantly. He was a very, very aggressive player and very angry in terms of just he brought creepers to our camp and tried to blow them up. I think if he doesn't do that, he needs to just calm down, stay aware of everything around him, just try and lay low, and I think he can do well. I think that Miles is a good player, but I just think that he needs to take a step back for a minute and sort of try and establish something solid before trying to actively target someone. I think that once he has a name in mind, he'll go for that name and won't stop until they're out. I think that that's maybe the wrong approach. He needs to just cool down a little bit, and I think he'll do well.
Peridot is quite possibly the social threat to end all social threats. I played with him in Season 2, he was on my tribe, formed a religion around him, so, if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about how he's gonna succeed in this game, I don't know what will. The dude is incredibly lovable, and he is for sure gonna use that to his advantage to get as far as he possibly can in the game.
So Mav was being a last-minute sub. he's just kind of being thrown in here last minute, so it'll be interesting to see how he deals with that. Hopefully he'll be able to find his footing in the game.